Hello everybody, this is Matt Swift, and we're doing the webinar, the DIY Livestream online video today. I'm just clicking around here to make sure we're all working and everything's functioning appropriately. It looks like we are live. I just want to pull up that feed there. That's going to be an important thing about what we talk about today, is being able to have a few different people to run this stuff back and forth. I need to turn down some audio here as well. Okay, cool. So, like I said, my name is Matt Swift. I'm with Nicolettecinemagraphics. The owner, Nikki Swift, she's actually the camera operator. She's going to be moving back and forth. She'll come out and talk a bit and then also actually run some stuff for us today. I want to thank the Ohio Citizens for the Arts for asking us to give this presentation today. We thought what we would do is we would do this live presentation as if most of you are going to do it, right? You would be doing it from your home, from your small office space, wherever you can do it. So we have basically a small room that we've put up some cloth in the background to give us a nice flat background. We have some lights in the room, which we will talk about today. We have a nice chair and everything. And so we thought we would do the kind of DIY setup that most everybody is probably going to be trying to do in this current day and age. We will also talk about, stepping that up a bit. So if you want to, if you feel like you want to spend some time, you're a small business out there, you want to spend some time and you have a little bit of a budget to be able to grow some digital media side of what you're doing, we'll talk about that as well. But we will talk about, the basic stuff, like just picking up your cell phone, right, and doing a live stream on your cell phone. I'll just give a brief shout out here. So what we're going to do, topics covered today, is an introduction to the basics of equipment and producing a video. We're not going to get too deep into that because we could spend weeks doing small little seminars on each of those topics that we'll cover in that area. So we're just going to kind of graze the surface, and if people have questions, they can always get in touch with us. Nicolettecinemagraphics is tagged in this post, so just let us know. The next topic we're going to run into is what we call prosumer equipment. That's the little section where we're going to talk about how you can really make this nice. So like today, we're broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. You can't really do that on a phone. There are certain ways that you make that happen. So we'll be able to talk about that a little bit too. The next thing would be to talk about cell phone video a little bit. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of that. And then the last little part, we'll talk about some extra accessories that you might want to look into, depending on the kind of video that you're going to do, right? We can talk about that more when we get there. And then, of course, at the end, we'll leave it open for some Q&A specifically. But we'll try to do some Q&A right here on Facebook. So I have a laptop right here in front of me with some questions, which is something that we're going to talk about. So, so somebody asked if we should share this video out. Everybody, feel free to just share this video out. So that's an important part of it. So before I talk about equipment, cameras, lights, microphones, and software, which is what we're going to cover, there's 4 basic items you need, but there's a fifth. And we'll start with the fifth one. The fifth one is a good live stream online video that you want to make look really good is a little difficult to do by yourself. That's not saying you have to have somebody in the same room the way that I have somebody over here running things and clicking on buttons and stuff like that. It means just having a friend that can do it with you. I mean, this is the perfect time to connect with somebody else. But for instance, if I'm not here and Nikki needs to run some kind of show by herself, we actually recruit a friend to be logged on to YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're live broadcasting, so that they can just make sure, the feed is still working, your sound sounds good. Somebody has a question and they can let you know. Maybe they can help answer questions for you, why it's happening. That's all. Having a second person of some kind to help you really brings up the quality of your broadcast. Just because, you know, we could be broadcasting and suddenly somebody's like, oh, it's too quiet, right? We all get that, right? We have video cameras, but we don't have microphones close to us, which we'll talk about. So your video is too quiet, but you wouldn't know because you're making the video. So it's good to have a friend who can tell you, maybe chat to you on your laptop where you have your phone and let you know that that audio is a little soft. So that's just one of the best things to know. Have a friend, have a coworker, have somebody else that can help you. It's really hard to do much more than your standard webcam video with just one person, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is cameras, right? So you have to have some kind of camera, of course, to do a live stream. There's all kinds of different cameras out there that you can use. And what's going to happen is Nikki might be able to pull up a wish list from a few companies. So I'm going to point out to, yeah, there we go. She's got it. So B&H, she's going to switch over to that and show it to you here in a minute. And so there's some different kinds of cameras you can get. I mean, of course, you can use your cell phone, but there's a whole array of things there. So go ahead and scroll up. I believe the camera should be at the top, at the bottom of that list. There we go. All right. So of course we've got our standard kind of cameras there. Right now today we're actually recording. We're doing this with this JVC camera. That's going to be in the kind of prosumer range, what we call, it's not really professional, but it's not really consumer like you would record your soccer games in. It's kind of somewhere in between. And the plus to a camera like that is, it has all kinds of extra features, which we'll get into. A lot of people might have their standard kind of like DSLR camera that exists, like a Nikon or a Canon or a Sony or a mirrorless camera, like these little point and shoot cameras. Those can all be used, but you need to know what you're looking for there, which we'll get into talking about that as well. So cameras, we could talk about a lot of different things in there. The most important thing to know is to go ahead and make sure that you feel comfortable with the camera. So, be comfortable with the camera that you're choosing. And so go to some place like Midwest Photo Exchange here in Columbus. They're on Silver Drive. I believe they still have some things that you can do. You can order from them. You might be able to go in hours, check their hours. Micro Center has some things. I think Best Buy is still allowing people to go in. Go to these places and kind of touch and feel a camera. Get used to how it feels. Click the features. Ask an expert what it does. This is what I want to do. I want to do a live stream. What do I need to know about this? We'll get into some of the nuts and bolts, but the most important thing is it's really hard to just pick one of these off the internet and use it. You need to just kind of go in, touch it, feel it, and see what works best for you. Like, we mostly use Panasonic and Nikon, but we do have a JVC now that we're using. A lot of people love Canon. A lot of people love Sony. I have nothing against either of those cameras. It's just I grew up using Nikon. Nikon feels right to me. That's what I use. Other people, they've always used Canon, so Canon is what they like to use. So just, you can use a lot of different tools, but make that decision for yourself. The next thing is to look at some lights, right? The lights are over on an Amazon list that we built. So there's the most important thing you can see right now. There's a lot of lights in here. And what I can do real quick is move over to our second camera. We'll talk about multicam here in a minute. But we'll move over to second camera. Go ahead, Nikki. Move to that camera. We'll get that down there. Right? Cool. Awesome. So there's the JVC that we're using today as part of this. I'm going to grab my microphone, so I'm taking it with me. But then also, I have this thing on a tripod. I can loosen it a bit. Let me see here. And, we got some lights all around a studio, right? All kinds of lights hanging up here. And I think the most important one I want to show you is this thing right over here. So there's Nikki. That light over there, that's just a China light. It's a simple paper lantern that you can use. They can be very, very handy for lighting a set, lighting a room, because they add a nice little glow. I actually have one hanging right here outside of frame, and it works really, really well. So you can see you can get them really, really cheaply. The issue with these is that you usually are putting a standard bulb in there, and what you can do is you can actually do a much nicer bulb. What works really well are compact fluorescent bulbs. Those usually when you're getting them for your house, they say 13 watts or something like that. But what you can do is you can actually go and you can find 30 watt, 65 watt, 85 watt. The higher the wattage on the compact fluorescents, the brighter it will be. Right? So you can take this same kind of paper lantern that I have, and you can basically get, like Nikki's pulled up here, a 65 watt LED compact fluorescent. You can get, 4 of them for $35. If you got 4 paper lanterns and you put 4 of these bulbs in it, that's going to be a pretty nice bright room. So it's pretty inexpensive. It's an easy, simple trick that you can do. I think the most important part of this is that you want to have light, right? The way that we connect with each other is to be able to see each other's faces, right? So you can see my face, you can see Nikki's face well, you can see our eyes lit up well. Like, that's all really important. The cameras will be able to focus better. You'll be able to show things off better if you're trying to show an item to people. Right, so I have a few items down here, so if I want to show the mic, it's bright enough, you can actually see all everything in here, right? So lighting is really, really important. The next thing I'll move on to, which is, I think it's kind of split a little bit between an Amazon and a B&H list. We'll publish these 2 lists. We'll make them public if we can, and we'll post them on this event afterwards so that you can see them. But, if we need to send you links during the talk, we can. The next thing is microphones. There's all kinds of microphones. So right now, I've got a lapel mic that's wired to me here. Pretty simple stuff, clipped to my shirt, and it's running through another cable, and it's running over to a soundboard. That's a little high up there, right? This is, that we're getting into a slightly more professional setup when you're talking about these kinds of microphones. A really important thing is just that you want to be close to the mic. Even if your camera has a microphone on it, your cell phone, right, it has a mic on it. If you're within, 3 or 4 feet of that, you're doing good. Once you get outside of that 3-foot distance, it's going to make it really, really hard to sound good, to not have echoes in your room. But then also, there's, getting a little mic that might go on your phone or on your camera. This one specifically plugs into a DSLR style camera, has a headphone jack on it. There's a lot of different kind of mics out there. If you choose to record audio later, there are also little things. There's a company called Zoom and a company called Tascam. They make really good portable audio recorders. This is a really good one. We've had this for years. We've been using this thing. And it basically it's a lapel mic, plugs into the side of it, and you can turn it on, hit record, it has a hold switch, so if you bump any buttons, you won't mess it up, and you can just put this in your pocket. Just stick it in your pocket, clip it to you, walk around, you can record all the audio you want, right? And then that way you could post that later if that's what you're doing. If you're doing a live stream, a lot of these devices will have an output. So on one side there's the input, on the other side there's an output. So you could actually, run another cable out of this into something and use it to be able to record yourself or put your audio out there for a live stream. So those
will also go in USB. So often you can switch it to be a USB mic with your computer.
Yeah, so there's a little USB port here on the side, so you can actually plug that into your computer and sit it here and use it as a mic to talk to as well. And they work really, really good. This is a Zoom. It's the H1. I think they're like, $90 or something like that. They're really not $84 or something. They're not really that expensive of a microphone. And you don't need the lapel mic. You can hold it. It has a tripod screw on the back. You can put it on a tripod and point it at you. there's lots of ways that you could use a little device like this. Microphones are really almost more important than lighting when it comes to a live stream in a way. Lighting is really important, but mics are really the most important, I think, because in this day and age, we're used to the quality of video on YouTube and Facebook not being super high quality. But the problem is then if we can't hear you, then that's a big, big issue. So having good audio, I think, is the most important thing to think about. It looks like Nikki's looking at some questions here in the comments. You know, people are sharing. You know, awesome. They're hoping to do some video outreach, some of these people, which is really, really great. And it's saying our video has a blue cast to it. Yeah, it actually
color
does.
Balance it, but online it looks a lot more blue than it does in the room.
Yep.
So we did white balance it, but we are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we actually have a second camera, right? You'll notice that second camera, when we switched it, it wasn't as blue. That's one thing to know about mixing cameras, right? So we have a JVC and a Panasonic. They're all going to have slightly different colors, and no matter what you do with those colors, it'll be it could be different. It could be really hard to match them up. So that's what you're really seeing here. Is we're trying to demonstrate two different types of cameras for you, and so you're seeing where the JVC is a little bit more blue. We've tried to make it a little less blue, but because of the blue background, we're getting some casting.
I've also found that while you're streaming, you lose a lot of the color, and we are having ins and outs on our feed tonight. And so I think the color is getting compressed. And so that is a compression issue that we just can't fix.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone mentioned the guidance on sound is key. Yeah. We'll talk about microphones specifically here in a minute, but like the sound is really important. Like try to get close to a mic. Don't be too far away from it. It's hard to hear. That's really helpful. And then if you can have someone who's monitoring, that's what Nikki was doing over on the side. She was making sure all the sound sounded good and everything, so that we didn't have to rely on other people telling us online what it looked like. So the last thing here is software. You know, when it comes to software for live streaming, there's lots of different stuff that's out there. But and we'll talk some more specifically. We'll get into some examples that are out there. But you know, of course, we're going to use Facebook and YouTube to be able to live stream. That's the people who are hosting the video for you. You can also hit Twitter through a thing called Periscope. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But then usually there's software out there where you can just use your laptop. You know, something like OBS. Is something that you can basically use your webcam or plug another camera into, and you can live broadcast using that. But then today, what we're doing is we actually have a piece of hardware that sends this signal out for us, and that hardware has its own software that you can use for free. Some of the hardware that's out there, you have to buy software too. So Nikki's pulling up here. So right, this company, it's Cerevo. That's the little box we're using. It's a streaming box. That one's a little expensive there, but there are things all over the price range. So if you're looking at, like, if you go to someplace like B&H Photo Video, which is out of New York, they're one of the biggest places where people get stuff. You might be able to get them at Midwest Photo Exchange. You might be able to get them somewhere else now too. But you know, they have a price range. I think I saw the cheapest one was a little over $200. I wouldn't guarantee how great it is. But you can go all the way up to a few $1,000s on a box like that. Blackmagic makes a version. There's several versions out there that they make a box that then has software. So the software is the other thing, right? You got to be able to use Facebook well, be able to use YouTube well. We'll get into some nuts and bolts of, you know, specific keywords you might need to understand. Like if you've gone to do some kind of YouTube live and it's asking for certain numbers and codes, you're not sure what those are, we can talk about that a little bit as well. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next section here because I want to leave plenty of time for everything. So, okay. So the prosumer equipment, we're going to start at the medium level and then kind of come down as it works. So the camcorder, like I showed you, Nikki, if you want to switch to the camcorder view real quick. if you got a second. So the camcorder here, this JVC, like this would be considered a prosumer camera, and the biggest thing about this camera is that it can actually has a Wi-Fi connection in it, and it can broadcast out all by itself. So you can hook into it. You can get a little USB Wi-Fi thing and a dongle and hook into it. And once you have that, it has applications right in the computer, right in the camera, that lets you dial into Facebook or YouTube. And so you don't need a computer. You don't need a separate device. You can just simply start making that happen. So she's going to try to adjust the camera a little bit. But so that's the most important thing about that style of camera. There's a whole bunch out there. JVC is not the only one that does it. There are other brands. But what you're really looking for is, does it have live stream? That's really the key word we're looking for here, is live stream, or it says something about Facebook or YouTube. But you really want to check and make sure that it doesn't say you have to get a different software. So if you're looking at a camera and it says, oh, well, yeah, you can do this, but you need to use Ustream or something. Well, Ustream's a paid application. It's a paid subscription-based website that'll help you host things. So this camera here, it'll let you log right into Facebook and YouTube with no problem.
But you have to buy an extra apparatus.
Yeah, for this camera, you do have to buy. There basically is a USB port, and you can plug into a little Wi-Fi dongle, the kind of thing you plug into your laptop if you need Wi-Fi signal and you don't have it. You can plug that into your camera, and then it lets you hook straight into YouTube. So, okay, so the DSLR style camera. Right, the most DSLR style and mirrorless cameras, some of them might have some Wi-Fi abilities now, like some of these bigger cameras, but most of them don't. The biggest thing about those cameras is you want to be able to see what kind of inputs and outputs. So I'm going to grab our camera here for a minute. It's all hooked in, and you'll actually be able to see it here. So, all right, so this is the camera. Right, we got our room back in there. So there is a cable coming out the side here, right? This is our HDMI cable. So that's your video, it's your high-def video signal cable that's coming out. You want to make sure you can get a camera that has HDMI out typically. If you want to be able to run it into something, you may be able to find cameras that have what's called like a USB host. A USB host means that basically you could plug this camera in to your laptop and be able to let it work from there. It'll kind of work. It might work as a webcam. It might have software. If not, there are separate software that you can get that you could download and use to make that happen. But if you want to use a camera like this, you definitely need, it has to have at least an HDMI output so you can hook to some of these devices that we're talking about, or a USB host so that it can USB host into something. Most of these cameras, that's a little bit complicated. You may need a technician or somebody, or need to ask somebody questions to make something like this work, but it is possible. You just may need a few extra things to make it happen. This is the Panasonic. You can use, Nikon does it too. They may have different sizes. That might be the important thing to know. This one, I think, uses what they call a micro HDMI. It's really tiny, like the thing for your cell phone. There's then a mini HDMI, which is a little bigger, almost the size of like a regular USB. And then there's the regular HDMI that you plug into your TV. So there's actually a few different sizes there, and you may need different device things, right? So I have a regular HDMI here, and then there's an adapter that then plugs into the micro mini here HDMI in the camera. So that's important to know. One thing that we didn't talk about there in that 4 basics things is being able to like have something to put your camera on. So right, it's on a tripod. All these cameras are on a tripod. If you're using your webcam, that's not that important, but it is pretty important to be able to put your camera up on something so that it's stabilized, so it's not shaky camera, right? You don't want to have to be bumping it and shaking it. So you want to be able to just set it up and be able to see. I mean, the big plus to this camera is that it has a screen that flips around, so I could actually watch what's on this camera when it's pointed at me It's really nice. Not all cameras have that. If that's a feature you know you need, you might need to look into the cameras and see, right? So like you can actually see the rest. I'm pointing back the other way. You can see it on the monitor here. That's one reason we like the Panasonics, because we do a lot of things where we need to not be directly behind the camera. We might be above it or beside it or something, and having that flexible monitor can be really, really handy. So again, stabilization can be really important if you're using any of these bigger cameras. But even if you're using smaller cameras, it's important too. We'll talk more about stabilization. I have some other gadgets and stuff I can show you here, and we have more things also on some price lists. There we go. Here we go. All right. Cool. All right. So the next thing is using a multicam video recorder. So actually, Nikki, can you go to the B&H and pull up the video switcher?
Okay.
All right. And she's going to pull that up so you can see what it looks like there. And then I'm going to move from here so we can show you how she's doing this, right? So on Zoom and other kind of softwares that we're all hearing about now, Zoom and Skype, you can share your screen. Nikki's basically sharing her screen, but we're using a device that lets us plug in multiple signals into a device, and then she's getting to hit buttons. And those buttons then allow her to switch from signal to signal, which is really, really good. Right, and so what can happen is then, let me go ahead and point this kind of more at me. All right, we'll do a side view.
It's not focused.
Yes, there's an autofocus. Let me get it here. All right, autofocus. There we go. Boom. All right, does that help?
No,
It's still blown out completely.
Yep.
All right, so it's not going to work well without being adjusted. That's what we're doing on the fly here to demonstrate things for you. All right, go ahead and switch.
Okay.
Right, so it's a little bright, whatever, but so she can switch. Go ahead and switch back and forth between the two cameras a few times in the computer. Right, so she can move around the screen with that device and move from camera to camera very easily, just with a few buttons on that device. It's pretty nice. That way you can do two cameras if you have two people talking. This is the kind of thing that, let's say, a lot of churches or a lot of larger organizations might be using because they want to be able to show multiple angles. They want to make the video a little bit more interesting. That's fine. I mean, it's not that bright over here on this camera. So it's interesting that it's that bright over there.
So, but I just discovered that I can also control it on a dashboard, so it'll plug in USB, and that's why I was squinting, because I couldn't quite see that across the room, which is why I ended up moving.
There we go.
So I have the same toggles that I have on the thing, on the controller, on the mixer, right here, to be able to, so green is what's queued up, and red is what is live. So I can switch,
Yep.
Oh, I don't have that on another one. So I can switch between the two very easily with this. I don't think it likes showing itself. Yeah. And so, but that's basically the same setup that I am using over here to switch between them. And these will also switch, these buttons, instead of having because it has a up-down toggle right here that I can, like if I switch to that, I can pull this lever up and down, but these buttons also do the same thing. And so what you're looking at is essentially that. So.
Cool. Awesome. So that's one way. I mean, there are multiple ways that you could do this. Blackmagic has an apparatus that lets you do this. This is done by Roland, which is a big music manufacturer. Roland does a lot of stuff for music and DJs. And so, but Blackmagic has one as well. There may be other items out there, and you can look basically for video switchers. As this is a kind of thing that you want to get into for some reason, you could do video, look up video switchers, and you could find some stuff. And it can be really helpful because you could make your video a lot more dynamic at that point. So, so the next topic we wanted to talk about, just to move on a bit, because we can come back and answer questions about cameras if you want, is using streaming devices. And I'm kind of going to let Nikki come back and just kind of talk about that a bit, because she's the one that's the mastermind behind all of that. And
streaming devices.
yeah.
So what are we?
Yeah. So streaming devices and
so
the software.
The box that I'm using, Blackmagic, also has a version, but I've not found another version that can do more than one feed. This can actually do 3 feeds at one time. So I can feed out to YouTube, Facebook, and then Periscope, which is Twitter, or I could do Twitch. There are a couple other options, but that's why I like this specific box, is because I have 3 feeds from it. There's also OBS. The issue with OBS is if you're using like the Lumix, the Panasonics, the Nikons, anything like that, you're going to need something to get them into your computer. So you're going to need an HDMI capture device. And so you can get ones that are like USB capture devices. I have a desktop computer upstairs that has a capture card for HDMI.
Another good tip is just to have for those kind of softwares, you can use a webcam. So I have a tablet upstairs for my work where I work at OSU, and the back-facing camera, like on a phone, is really good, but the forward-facing camera that you see that it usually uses as webcam is not very good. And so being able to just plug in a USB webcam on top from something like from Logitech or any of these other companies. Logitech makes a really good one with good microphones on it and everything. Being able to plug that in and then use the software like OBS is really good because it's single camera. You can post out to Facebook, you can post out to YouTube, and it's pretty easy at that point. So, I mean, there's the nuts and bolt kind of things you need to know about codes and other things to be able to use OBS and other software to go to YouTube or Facebook, which we can talk about that. Do you want to maybe pull that up and be able to show them? Go ahead.
Even if you're with OBS or with this Cerevo streaming box, you need what is called, I'm going to mix up the letters, RTMP code. And when you program your Facebook or your YouTube, it'll ask you if you want to use your webcam and just go live directly, or if you want to schedule it. And then if you schedule it, it'll give you an RTMP code. And then you can put that, like I just put it into the controller for the box, and that's how the box knows to stream to my Facebook or whatever Facebook I'm using at that time.
I'm just pulling up some links.
So OBS is also going to want that. I set an OBS up last night, and it wanted my RTMP code.
Yeah, so it stands for real-time messaging protocol.
Nice.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a quick Wikipedia thing to it, and then so people can know a little bit more about that as soon as Facebook comes back. So go. All right. We'll post a link there. So if you see something that says RTMP, that's real-time messaging protocol, and that's when you go to YouTube or Facebook, it's going to give you a number, and then when you use the software, it's going to ask for a number, and that's what you're going to want to be able to put into those places, so you now can know what that is. So, can you think of anything else specific you might need to know about software?
If you're streaming to both YouTube and Facebook, you're going to notice very quickly that they're completely different. So with YouTube, when I'm using this box, it's a 2-step process. I would assume it is also the same for OBS. Once the signal is fed out to YouTube and it senses it, then you hit a go live on YouTube's end. And so you have to remember to do that to go live. The same goes with Periscope. But for Facebook, once it's scheduled and you hit like start on the Cerevo box, it just accepts and starts. Like you don't have, it's not a two-step process.
So the biggest thing about OBS, it's a really cool thing, and what a lot of people are using is because it's open broadcast software. I posted a link down in the messages. It's open broadcast software. It's free. It works on Windows. It works on Mac. It works on even Linux for those people who are doing that kind of software system as well. And it has some really great features in it that you can, do chroma key and cut out the background. There's all kinds of stuff in there. The biggest difference between what it does and what we're doing is that it does a single feed at a time. So you can only go to Twitch, or only go to Twitter, or only go to Facebook, or only go to YouTube. Now, the one thing that we didn't talk about is Instagram. We're going to talk about Instagram when we get to cell phones, because the biggest thing about Instagram is it's cell phones only. That's the only way you can do that. So Instagram Live is really, really big right now, but you have to do it through a phone. So that's really important to know, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So Nikki's pulled up the OBS software. You can see it there. I put a link down in the feed so that all of you know what's going on. All right, cool. So, all right, the next topic.
That's what I was going to show. I was going to show the OBS feed, but I need to get out of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next thing, which is cell phones, which is probably what we're all thinking about, right? We have a cell phone or a small camera. What can we do to make that look better? So, I'm going to go ahead and pull my phone out. I have a case. I tend to drop my phone. I use it for a lot of video all the time, and so I have it in one of these big wallet cases to protect it. But the most important thing to know is where you're broadcasting and why. Right? The biggest thing about using a cell phone is that it's really mobile. It's right there in your pocket. It's easy to use, right? You could pull it out. You can hit go, and it works. And the other biggest feature is Instagram, right? Is the only way to post live on Instagram is to actually use your Instagram account on your phone, right? That's the only way to go live. Now, if you want to post a video, that's different. You could do a pre-recording, right? You could record it on anything here, which I've done. I've recorded using bigger cameras, and then I put that in a computer, and I edit, and I send it out. And then I have to basically plug my phone into my computer and get that video onto my phone and then use Instagram to post it. That is possible as well. The most important thing you need to know about Instagram is if you're going live, you can just go live and you can tag other people. You can do hashtags. People will stumble upon it. You can make it part of your story or not. If you want to post a video that you produced, it's a little trickier, right? It needs to usually be below a minute. It also needs to be pretty small. It needs to be a cell phone quality video. So let's say you are making some videos on your computer. You have a little bit of software, some experience. You're making videos. You want to get them onto Instagram. You're going to need to look up on Google or whatever search engine, like posting video on Instagram and see what the specs are. For me, I tend to do like a lower quality version, so that it plays on the phone nicely. If you make it too big, Instagram won't actually reject it. So it just won't post it. It'll stall out, and you won't be able to see it. So look up the specifications. All you have to do for any of this is go onto a search engine and search, like Instagram video specifications, and that might help. You could also, do it for any of these other items I've talked about. OBS, just search it, and you should be able to find it. Nikki brought down a light a little bit, which kills a little bit of the blueness some. So, cool. So then, broadcasting on your phone, right? Most of these apps are pretty easy. You get in here, right? If I wanted to go to Facebook, you're going to pull up that app. Let me see here, Facebook really quickly. And then typically, You know, you've got your feed at the top. Everybody kind of recognizes this. It's not very close up, and that's fine. Everybody knows what Facebook looks like. And then usually there's a live. There's actually a button right there at the top. It says live, and when you click it, it'll ask you what you want to do, and you'll get a little screen. You can actually adjust which side of your camera, right? Everybody's configured this out. This is pretty simple stuff. You can select if you want the camera facing you or if you want the other camera pointed the other direction. One of the biggest things that people fail to do when they go live on Facebook is they actually forget to add a description. There's actually a little section right here that says tap to add a description. That can really make a difference, because what you could do is, as a small business or an organization, you can make sure that you put the @ symbol and your business name or your artist name or your name, and it will tag that person. If you're working with other people, right? If I wanted to do this video live, I could go in and I could say at Ohio Citizens for the Arts, at Nicolettecinemagraphics, and it would tag all those, and it would let them know that I was live. And you can put a description in there, and that helps people know that you're going live. Most people forget to do that when they do this. And then once you go live, you know, you have some options afterwards where you can save it or post it. You know, if you post it, it'll try to send it up right away. While you're going live, you can kind of share it with friends and everything. It's just a little hard to do on your phone all at one time just by yourself. The same thing goes with YouTube. And Instagram, it's the same kind of features. You go in and there's a live. Now, Instagram's a little harder to figure out. You know, even I still may fumble a bit when I get in here. Once you're on Instagram, you know, you want to be able to make a post. There's a plus sign down here at the bottom that you want to do a post. But from there, you actually have to slide over you have to grab the screen, I believe, and slide it over. Like, where is it at? There it is. So like you can slide things once you are in it, because it's kind of hard to find where the live is, right? So, you know, again, look, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there and other videos out there to be able to figure out how to do that. Instagram is a little bit more complicated to go live with, but you have to get in, you have to act like you're making a post, and then you kind of have to swipe to one side, and that'll show you where it's at. Cool. All right, YouTube. I have to skip trials and everything, right? If I want to post video, I can, you know, you want to get into YouTube. It's the same kind of features. It asks you for a camera, which camera you want, and you can get up in there and post through that pretty easily.
Well, and here I can pop up what I see.
Yeah, so right now Nikki has popped up. So this is the back end of what she's seeing, right? Where you can go in and program a YouTube live feed. Like, you can make an event. So like today we made an event, and then you can post in that event specifically if you want to do it, right? See here with YouTube, she made an event through YouTube. There's all the codes that we were talking about.
This is your TMP.
And then you can schedule the event, you can schedule the time, and it'll go live at that moment when you're ready to go live. Yeah, so that's good to know. Awesome. One thing to know is, like, if you're wanting to get stuff off of your phone, you kind of have to know your phone to get things off of it. She has a kind of an accessory up right now, which we'll talk about in a minute. So if you want to get things off of your phone, you got to be able to plug that into your computer. You should be able to go into your phone, like just type in your phone model into Google and say, access photos or videos. There'll be a folder. I'm an Android user, so when I go in, there's a folder that says DCIM. I click on it. That's a standard thing you would see when you're using cameras. Is DCIM folder. You go in there and it says camera. You click camera, and then there's all my photos and videos, and I can just pull them off of my phone onto the computer. It basically turns your phone into a hard drive. That's Android. Now Apple's different. Apple, it all goes through iTunes and your iCloud account and everything, and so you have to be able to swap things through that iCloud account if you're an iPhone user. There's tons of forums and tons of websites on there that show you how to do that. I don't want to get too deep into the woods into that. If people have questions on how to do that later, let me know, and we can answer those questions for you. So, all right.
Any further questions?
And so, are there any questions?
No.
Okay, cool. So the other things I want to show you is specifically like the tripod. So you saw the tripod here a minute ago that this camera was on. So we have some recommendations for some tripods. I mean, you can go pretty much anywhere and get a cheap $30 tripod, and it'll work, right? If you're not moving it around and lugging it around and undoing it and moving it, like if you just need something simple, it'll work pretty good. This is from a company called Slick. It's not a very expensive. We put a little bit more expensive top on it, but the bottom part is not very expensive at all.
Manfrotto.
So no, the legs are Slick.
Oh,
the head is Manfrotto.
Oh,
so the legs are from Slick,
okay.
and then we put a different head on it. But the Slick actual tripod, I think, is around $100. It's not very expensive, and it's a pretty sturdy tripod. It gets up to like almost 6 feet tall. It has a pan handle on it here, so you can move it around. You can move it up and down, right? So you have some controls of what you can do there with it, which is really, really helpful. It also, you can take the camera on and off of it pretty easy with a foot there. You know, this would be your upper level. Most of your smaller tripods, 30 to 50 bucks, like you can do that same kind of thing with it pretty easily. And you can get them pretty much anywhere. Nikki's got some up there. There's a Slick tripod. It's pretty inexpensive that you can use. There's lots of other devices as well. I'm going to show the Monopod real quick. So there's this thing here. It's called a Monopod. You might be able to find these at different prices. Some of them are expensive. Some of them are cheap. It all depends on like what kind of things you have on it. Like this one has these real nice 3 feet. So it can stand on its own. I can like let go of it and it'll stand there, and I don't have to hold it. But this can be really handy, like if let's say you're walking through your art gallery, let's say, but you don't want to hold your camera the whole time, right? You can just quickly pick this up, move it, and then hold it into place. It helps you hold the camera, talk about a piece of art, and then move down a little bit further. Talk about a piece of art. Move down a little bit further, talk about a piece of art. Now, on this, it has a little attachment that is for your camera, right? So there's this little foot here, right? This goes on the bottom of your camera. What I have on it, actually, is a little simple device that holds your cell phone. So it's just a little clip, right? I can come in here and go like this, right? I can take it here, and I can put it on here, and now suddenly I have my own tripod for my cell phone. There you go. It clicks into place, and now it's holding my cell phone, and I have something that can hold it. This one, it'll fit on a table. I have a little table here. I can hold it. It has extension legs. One real good rule of thumb for tripods or anything like this, if it has legs like this, you always want to do the thickest one first, right? The top one first. Like, you don't want to just do the bottom skinny one. If you're going to do just one high, always start at the top because it's thicker, right? This is going to be way more stable than if you do this, right? Because of the size and thickness of it. So that's just a little quick tip. If you're ever moving the legs up and down and it has components, always start at the top and come down and get the size that you want. But like this can be very handy because I can sit in here, I can hold it with my hands, it's pretty stable. It's much easier than trying to hold your phone. I'm sure all of you have tried to hold your phone like this. It's very difficult, right? Hold your phone like this could be really nice. Now the problem, most of you are going to ask, well, what about a lot of these places, they want your phone like this now. So if you go live on YouTube, on Facebook, they actually want you to go vertical. I could change this up a little bit. I could turn the head and adjust it, right? And I could then adjust this thing that's on here, right? And now it's sideways, right? So as long as it has a movable part here, a joint, you could be able to move it and change what you're doing if you need to do that. That's one important thing to know about using your cell phone, is knowing what you're going to do with it. If you're going to take it off of your phone to edit later, you most likely want it like this. Because if you're posting to Facebook or YouTube after the fact, it's going to want your video to be horizontal, right? If you're going live, a lot of the time, like Facebook and Instagram, going live, They're doing vertical. So remember that, because lots of people out there, they'll be somewhere and they go, oh, I'm gonna go live real quick and share a message with a friend, and they hold their phone like this, and the next thing you know, they're sideways. And it's because most of the people are holding their phone like this anyway, so they've basically made it so if you're live, they want it this way. If you're posting later, they want it this way.
Now, when I'm using this box, it is okay that it is not vertical.
Yeah, so we're able to do the live this way because we're using a live stream box and we've set everything up and it's detecting it. Specifically, the applications in your phone only, they'll want it this way, or it might get messed up. Another thing to know is that they crop in a little bit, right? So we see a lot of organizations out there, they'll share a live video, they've set it up so everybody's in the view, but then when they hit go, suddenly some of the people aren't in the view because it shrank the sides and the top of the image a little bit. So that's one thing to know. You might want to just do a quick test and just hit live real quick, see what it does, then hit stop, and then start your live feed. That way you can move your camera where it needs to be. You're not cutting off people who are participating in your show. That's all really, really important. Now this is a monopod. That can help. I showed you the tripod. There are lots of other things out there as well that you could use. So one of my favorite things, I don't think we have this on our list, is this. It's called a Scorpion. It folds up real nice and handy. It's not very expensive. It's by a company called Neewer with 2 E's. So Neewer. And the idea of it is kind of like a transformer. So if you're a child of the 80s, late 70s and 80s, you get transformer references, right? So it's just it can move out and stretch out and turn, right? I have it locked down kind of tight. This is a little harder, right? And it can do all kinds of things. So instantly, I took that little box, and now I have a shoulder camera, so I look like a news report, like an outdoor news documentarian, right? I got a little shoulder thing. My camera goes here, and I could record people. Also, you could flip it upside down, and if you need to carry it, right, you could carry it down low very easily. But another really good thing about this thing is it can go on a tabletop, right? So if you just need something to sit, you want to buy one thing and use it for a lot of different stuff. This is a pretty good option because then it can just sit on a surface, right, and hold your camera up off that surface. And it gives you some adjustability. Based on this back leg, you can tilt it up and down, right? And these legs too, you can get it lower or higher. I actually shot a video that's that's in there's a new Hilton canopy downtown. There's a big screen there that has a video on it. And one of the videos there is I took this and I actually wrapped it around the bridge, on the Town Street Bridge. So the rail on the bridge, I wrapped it around that bridge so that it was holding my camera on the rail of the bridge. So these things can be really handy if you need to be able to have something to hold your camera, move it around quickly. Something like that can be really good too. There's selfie sticks. I don't have a selfie stick. The monopod's kind of like a selfie stick. Selfie sticks can be really handy for this too, just because it lets you get further away from yourself, A, but B, a lot of them will have a screw hole in the bottom. And on the bottom of that, you can screw that onto a tripod or onto some other kind of device and stabilize it and let go of it, right? So a selfie stick can be turned into a monopod in some way. So there's another, stop right there, the gimbal, right? So that's something that, right there, there's these other things too. That has some feet. This gimbal, a gimbal is technically a set of gears that's motorized, and it keeps your camera steady while you're using it. So you can walk around a room with your cell phone. It may even have some controls on it, so you can move it up and down and move it around. But it gives you like almost like a selfie stick that's motorized that tries to keep your camera level when you do it. That's what a gimbal is. There's a few different kinds. You want to switch back out, Nikki? So there's that stick one there, but then I have one that's like two-handed. So your cell phone goes in this square box here, right? And then you hold it here, and you can hold it either way, and it'll shoot. And all the motor, all this stuff here that's loose right now because I don't have it turned on, actually keeps your camera from wobbling when you're walking. So like if you go like this, it'll actually readjust. So you get on some blue here. There we go. So it'll readjust this little apparatus to try to keep it level while you're walking. So this one's nice. It has like a little foot on it. You can add a microphone or a light. It could be very handy as well. We didn't talk much about microphone, like the mini mics. So this is a mic that goes into your camera here, like a DSLR. But they also have ones where you can put them into your cell phone, right? So just like when you might have a headset for your cell phone with headphones and a microphone, you can, put a little microphone in to your camera, and that'll really help. Because, like I say, if you're in a noisy room or there's going to be wind, like you can have a little microphone that clips to your cell phone, and that can work a lot better. That's one thing. If you're in a windy environment, a noisy environment, this thing here, right? It's called a windjammer. People call it a fuzzy, or they call it lots of other stuff, but it's called a windjammer. Is usually what it is, and that's what it does. It jams wind. It's basically like teddy bear fur. And the science of sound is when I blow on it, it breaks up that wind noise so that then it doesn't hit the microphone inside, right? So if you're going to be outside somewhere and it's going to be a windy day, having some kind of something to go over top is really handy. A nice DIY tip is that you can even make that kind of stuff yourself. All right, I'm going to pull this off. So I made one. I went to Joann Fabrics, and the microphone above me, there's a shotgun mic, has this is called a spit screen, or it's a foam protector, and that can help with some noise, but it's not going to help with a lot, right? And so what I did is I got some teddy bear fur, and I made like a square and a circle, and I sewed the insides of it, so it's all attached together, right? And then that slides right over this. And then that goes over our mic, and that then suddenly, I think for, I don't know, $3-4 worth of fabric from Joann Fabrics, I was able to just make one of these in a pinch. I was in a pinch. I used to work with students a lot, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're going to be shooting outdoors, and we don't have any kind of wind jammers or anything." I was like, "Oh, Joann Fabrics, go buy some fabric. Let's stitch one together and make it happen," and that way, they were going to be able to pick up good audio.
You can also get them with glue dots, just small little spots of fuzzy teddy bear fur on a glue dot that you can put over the mic on any camera. So you could put it over your cell phone mic or whatever to help cut
So
down
if you're an artist or a gallery, you're probably very familiar with poster putty, that kind of tacky poster tack putty. Right, you could actually put a little bit of that on the edge of the mic on a camera, and then take a little piece of this fur and just stick it there, right? And then you have a nice little windscreen over any camera. There's a really cool video out there where somebody has the exact same camera in a windy alley facing each other. One of them has this little bit of teddy bear fur taped to it, the other one does not. And they switch back and forth between the two, and you can hear a major difference in the sound. So something like this, if you're going to be outside, can really, really be helpful. So that's
We've
important
hit
to
an
know.
hour.
Yep, I know. So we're at an hour here. I said we may go a little bit longer. We have the mobile microphones. What about the ring light? Let's pull that up. So there's also different kind of mobile lights that you can get. So I think B&H, we have a few there. That I posted, maybe not, maybe the light, nope, the lights are overall on Amazon. Okay. So over on Amazon, so Newer, NEEWER, there's a few different brands out there, but, so there's a ring light. What's really good about this ring light is your camera goes in the middle, and it gets you a nice light all the way around. Mm-hmm. So that can really light up everything. So you get a little light under here, a little light around here, right? But it doesn't put so much light that it's shining your whole background. So if you're in a dark room and you just need a little bit of light above your camera or around your camera, that's a really good tool because your camera can go right in the middle of it with your cell phone. It helps a ton.
And it also has a cell phone holder in the middle, so you have your support and your lighting.
Yeah, when you see it, that little piece in the middle of the light, that's a cell phone holder. And it has some little attachments there so you can change the color. If it's really blue or if it's really red, you can change that a little bit. Go back out one and go up to one.
Right.
There's...
my mouse is fighting me.
Yeah. So there's also, we have here that Newer makes a few different things. So there's this pack here just to stay out. That's fine. So these two little Newer lights, right? They're not super powerful, but they come with stands and they come with batteries and gels and everything. And those lights there, they can work really great. If you just need a little extra light above your camera, it works really, really good. So you just, have your camera here and a little light. Some of them can clip to the top of your camera. They can be really handy. You see, they're very inexpensive. A lot of people use these just for, a little touch and go. You need just a little extra light here and there. That can really, really help. If you go back out one more time, if you want to get a little bit better lights, you can. Newer also makes some that are a little bit bigger. This bigger set of lights here, those are a little bit bigger. I mean, you're looking at like 12 inch by 12 inch LED panel light. They take batteries. They can go blue or yellow, so you can adjust the light right on them. You can dim them or brighten them. The only problem with these lights, right, is the lights are good, but the stands that they come with are not great. Newer does sell a much better stand, but you would have to buy those stands separately. But the lights themselves are pretty decent, and because of the battery power, if you buy some batteries to go with them, it's a very specific NPF. N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, F as in Frank, NPF battery that goes on them. I've taken these out in the woods. I've taken them all kinds of places, and you can just plug them in, and they'll run for a good 30 minutes, maybe 25, 30 minutes on a battery charge. And to have some decent lights like out somewhere for 25 minutes, that's pretty good for, only a few bucks.
They also make a smaller version that is super portable and isn't going to give you the amount of light. I'm thinking this might be it.
Yep, that might be the smaller version. But you can just look up Newer. There's lots of other versions out there that you could look into. So that's that's about what we have for you today. There's a lot. I mean, we are willing to take questions from people if they're watching. If you have questions, post them below. We can answer them.
I think I have one major piece of advice. It's technology, and it is always going to throw you curves. And it's ever changing and evolving. And you may know what Facebook does today, and Facebook may change everything tomorrow. I could come over. And so roll with the punches, because sometimes your internet might not want to work.
That's the important thing, right? Is even today, before this broadcast, we are actually having a little bit of internet trouble, because a lot of people are these days. With everybody being online, their internet signals aren't the greatest, and we went to go boot up the show, and suddenly, boom, our internet provider, there was something going on. We had to reboot everything. Sometimes you got to go restart the router, your internet access, and reboot a computer, and we had to reboot and start everything all over again and unplug some stuff, and then everything came back. So sometimes that happens. You just got to be aware of it. I mean, that's one of the other pluses to being able to just use your cell phone to make things happen. And so, if you're just using your cell phone, you're an organization me and Nikki, we help with the Ohio Art League. We're just members on a board there. They got a bunch of shows coming up, and one thing they could do is send one person out to that show with a cell phone and a small light and a monopod. Very simple, not a lot. I mean, maybe $150 worth of stuff plus their cell phone, and they could go live on the event on Facebook for that art show. And you can just walk through and say, okay, here's this piece of art by this artist. This is what it's about. You can visit that artist's website at this place, right? And then move on to the next artist, talk about that artist. Go visit this artist's website, right? And you could walk through your shows and do that. Let's say you're someone who sells things in their shop, Maybe you're a business in the short north and you've got you can't be open for business, but you've got merchandise there, and you may have it all up on your website already for people to sell. But you could go to Facebook, right, and just walk around your shop, point your phone, and just keep it close to you, right? Stay close to the phone so we can hear you well, and just say, hey, shine a light and just be like, hey, here's this product that we're selling. If you're interested, give us a call or check out our website. We're having a sale today, right? It's very simple stuff. It doesn't have to be long. You can do a real short video for about, a minute to 4 minutes. We run a film festival, the Columbus Moving Image Art Review. We're going to try to do a live broadcast of that on April 17th. So look for us there. It's the longest running showcase of local only, free to attend, free to submit films. But twice now, I've just gotten on really quickly for like 3 minutes and said, hey, we're going to do this show, everybody. I'm just going to do a live stream real quick and tell you about it, and then I log off. It doesn't have to be a really long thing. As long as it's short and it gets the point that you need, you could make a bunch of them, do them all at one time, and put them up. And then that way you don't have to worry about editing them. It could be handy. We're lucky. We were able to throw some graphics up. If you don't have that ability, you could make a sign, get creative, make a small graphic on a card or something, or pull up your business website or your Facebook page on your computer and get a shot of the computer and then talk about it, right? Everybody understands. We're all kind of in this space right now where we're supposed to stay at home in Ohio. Nobody's going to care that you had to point at your website for a graphic before you started talking, right? Just try to get as much of the messaging out there as you possibly can. It's really short, and sweet. I just can't tell you enough. It's simple, easy to do, especially with your phone. And like I said, just stay close to it. That's like the biggest thing. We saw there was some great stuff right before we all got locked down. There's a great guy in town, Scott Woods. He was doing some good stuff. He was going around to different places. He even went to the Columbus Museum of Art and did some videos in there, right? It was really simple. He was standing there with the camera. He talked from one side, and then I think he had Nanette on the other side from the museum, and she was talking about some art. And then the museum did their own thing in the same way. They did a whole video in the same way. So it's really easy to do and easy to set up. Does anybody have any questions for us as you're seeing this? We're watching the feed down here. Feel free to post a question.
On your if you're using your cell phone or your laptop or whatever, you could, if you have to move a lot. So if you're doing a demonstration as an artist or something and you can't be connected by a headset and you feel like your computer's audio or your phone's audio isn't good enough, and if you have a Bluetooth headset, it will work and it will allow you hands-free to walk away from and get distance from your phone or laptop.
Yeah, we've actually tested that right now. So Nikki's helping the Arts and College Prep Academy here in Columbus, Ohio, and every day at noon for the last few weeks, they've been going live and having artists come in and talk, and they're going to move that to completely virtual now, to where people don't have to come into the school. They were doing really good social distancing stuff. Remember that, right? Remember, try to stay 6 feet apart from each other. If you're coming in, if you need 2 people in a space to do something. And they were practicing that pretty well, but at this point, they want to try to make it so that, everybody doesn't have to, you don't have to have 3 people in a space in a school. And so she was testing this out just last night. You can take a Bluetooth headset and you just go onto your computer for your webcam settings and your audio settings, and you can click in there and say, I want to use the Bluetooth headset that I paired with my computer. And then you can walk around the room and it'll pick up your Bluetooth headset just like you were standing there next to the computer. That could be really helpful, because then, I got a laptop here right now, and, I would want to be pretty close to it. If I wanted to be talking so you can hear me really good, not a lot of echo, I have to be close to it. If you start getting kind of far away, it's going to echo a bit. So using that Bluetooth headset is good. You can also get little over the ear, like it'll go over the ear and then have a microphone. You might be able to get something like that plugs in USB. You know, I have big headphones with the microphone as well. I mean, it all depends on what you're doing. If you're a small business and you're trying to keep up a professional look and everything, you know, you probably want to just get out your cell phone and you want to talk about the products that you have and share that out there. If you're an artist and you want to show your work, you maybe don't have a website right now, or maybe you do and you want to still share some stuff out, you know, just get a table and lay out some of your work and just, you know, do a quick live feed, like introduce yourself and then turn the camera around and just go through and talk about each one of your works, right? We just got news today that, like, there's, you know, all the arts organizations are trying to put together things to support artists out there. And so I guess some people are trying to put together a virtual artist hub to be able to basically promote all the different kind of live feed artist kind of things that are going on out there right now, so that there's kind of a home for all of them. So try to put that stuff together. I'm trying to think if there's some other things that we haven't touched on for companies. You know, there's arts organizations. You know, if you have somebody who can still give a class, like we're doing it right now. You know, if you wanted to, you know, the problem with giving a class and using your cell phone is that you might need power, right? You can get these little, you know, anywhere. Just look up USB battery charger, or battery brick, or charger base. Like, you could use a lot of different terms, but you'd find like a USB power source. And you can plug that little extra power source into your camera, and then suddenly it has an extra long battery. Because using the video on your phone for like a half an hour, 40 minutes, it does suck up the battery quite a bit. So you could take a little USB battery block, plug it in, and then put your phone up, and then you could teach a class, right? If you're an educational center, you could do that still. You could invite all of your participants. Maybe you got students. Maybe you're an art instructor who does private painting lessons. You could still do that, right? Set your phone up in your studio, Bob Ross style. Set it up just at an angle so that you have, you and the canvas in the background, right? Everybody knows the Bob Ross style there. And then make an event and invite all of your painting students or whatever to that event. And you can all just, you can demonstrate stuff and just check your phone every once in a while and see if they asked you a question, right? And you could just suddenly take all your painting classes online for everybody. It's pretty easy to use.
I think that's the hardest thing, is fielding the questions and actually having content.
That's why it's helpful if you can designate a friend or somebody that can help you, because then, they don't even have to be there. If you're that painting teacher and you're pointing that camera at yourself and you're painting and talking, then somebody else can field questions for you, right? You could have somebody in the room that could look at the questions and ask them to you, right? Just, having somebody else that can monitor your feed can be really, really helpful too.
I think I'm crashing over here.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're at about, 75 minutes at this point. I don't see where there's any other questions in the feed here. I hope this is all really, really helpful for you. We're open to questions. If you have them, you can find us. It's Nicolettecinemagraphics.com. You can send us an email. You can try to get a hold of us through Facebook, and we'll answer your questions and send stuff out to you. If you need help troubleshooting something, let us know. That's kind of something that we do on a regular basis. We have special pricing. If it ends up being a bigger project that you need done for some reason, let us know. We work with arts organizations and nonprofits to keep pricing down low. That's really kind of our bread and butter here. We're not the people charging exorbitant amounts of days to do video work for people. We keep the budgets very low so the arts organizations and nonprofits and others can get the video they need. Because guess what? It's a video world. Something went out a few months ago that from one of the major server companies that said now that's going to change because of everything we're going with, but in 2021, 82% of internet traffic will be video, because we're all watching Netflix, we're all watching YouTube, Hulu, Amazon. We're chatting video on our phones. And now, right now, that number has already probably skyrocketed. The amount of internet traffic being video-based is huge. And so, if you need to find a way to do some video, let us know. We'll we can give you a quote or whatever. We can let you know what we need to do. If we need to build a shopping cart for you, we can figure that out for you. Just let us know how we can help. Reach out to the Ohio Citizens for the Arts. They do a lot of great work. They're the ones out there fighting for you to figure out what kind of resources are out there for you, trying to figure out what's going on government-wise, what's going on with the National Endowment for the Arts, all that kind of stuff that's happening to make sure that artists are getting supported. I think the Ohio Arts Council or somebody sent out, there's a big grant nationally now for artists who have, it's emergency funds for artists and arts organizations affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. So look into that. It's a national one. I know Greater Columbus Arts Council did something local here. So there's a lot of resources out there. So you might be able to put together a proposal and say, look, my business has been affected. I need to write a grant, emergency grant. You could get a USB webcam and maybe a microphone and maybe a light. Right? Something just real easy so that you can promote your business online, so that you can stay afloat, so you can teach your classes online and stay afloat, so you can stay operating from your home base without having to travel and lose that traction that you built over the years. All right. Well, I think that's it. I don't see where there's any other questions that have come through at all. So if you have questions afterwards, feel free to post them or get a hold of us. We're happy to answer them. Do you have any last minute remarks, Nikki?
No, I think we covered more than everything, and I didn't see anything else coming through. Yeah.
Okay.
So to stop this, like I said, YouTube has a 2-step process. I have to go over and hit the end button on YouTube and then turn the feed off. So it is seriously, and since I am here and can't control it because I left my mouse over there, I don't think we're going to lead out with a graphic. Now, you can add graphics at the end of YouTube after the fact.
Yep.
That is an option in YouTube now. So
yeah, that's a big plus. So once you upload a video in YouTube, if you're uploading a video or doing a live or something, it gives you a chance to then upload a thumbnail or a graphic, and you can put it in place up there if you want. That is very handy in there. So thank you, everybody. I see some people said thank you at the last minute.
If you're looking for something to watch, I am still working with ACPA to stream arts content. Daily, and we'll be starting back because of Easter. We're on break, but we'll be starting back on hopefully Tuesday. Hopefully Tuesday, but if not, Wednesday. Wednesday, we have an artist. And there's already, if you go look up, it's ACPA, ACPA, ACPA Vision on YouTube. You can find the videos there, or you can just look up Arts College Prep Academy on Facebook, or look us up. We've been sharing it too. If you go to our page, you can see the feeds that are there. They've had spoken word artist, Trip Fontaine was there. They've had a few singers. The last guy that they had there was, he was doing sculpting. He was demonstrating how to use clay and sculpting little models. I'm actually a painter as well, so I was lucky enough they invited me to come on the show, and I did a live performance painting with the students there participating online. They've had some musical performers there. They've had some painters. So the Arts and College Prep Academy here in Columbus, Ohio is doing some really great stuff. They try to do it every day at noon and share it out. There's lots of great other resources around town, though, too. There's tons of people doing these video tutorials of art making. So watch some of them, get a handle for what they're doing, and maybe that'll help inspire you to be able to do something for yourself. So great. Right. Well, Nikki, go turn the feed off. Go walk and over here. Wave goodbye. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, we'll all get through this together. Everybody stay safe. I hope that this has been helpful for you, and you'll be able to produce some good live streams yourself. So, thank you very much. I have no clue what I did with the graphic. Yep. Yeah. So, I guess. All right. All right. I'll see if there's any more questions. Looks like everybody's saying thank you.
So the feed's just going to end
Yep.
as is. There you go.